Hey everybody, welcome back to another painting video. Today we're going to be making some watercolor flowers. I have 6 different ones to show you. Super excited about that. I hope you guys are enjoying these art tutorials. If you are, I would love to hear about it in the comments. I'd also love to know if you prefer the real-time videos or the sped up videos. So let me know what you guys like the best, and I can make videos according to your preferences. Alright, so like I said, we're going to be doing some watercolor flowers. I have 2 jars of clean water, my Sakura Koi watercolor set, and some Canson watercolor paper. I also have a size 8 round brush, but like always, use whatever you have, whatever's available to you. The first flower we're going to be painting is going to be a dahlia, and there aren't really any specific colors other than a color you would like to use. I'm starting out with this kind of red-orange color, and I'm going to be making some kind of flowy triangle shapes. That's the best way I can describe it. So they're wider at the base on the inside of the flower, and then they get narrower as they go out. And dahlias are just so big and fluffy, and they have so many petals. So make sure you get some curves in there, but it's really just a basic triangle shape. You can push down on your brush and then ease up on it as you get farther out from the center. You can use the side of it. And you can see I started out with 4 pretty small ones in the center, and then I'm kind of just doing opposite for the next time around. So just kind of layering in those petals, and every time I go back to my paint palette, I'm adding either a little bit more red or orange just to change up the color for the different layers of petals and to give it some more dimension, and also because flower petals usually aren't all the same color, especially for dahlias. So feel free with whatever color you're using just to add more pigment or less pigment even, just to switch up the color so you get some variation in there, and it's really going to make it pop. You can also go around the previous petals gently by using a few different strokes instead of just one, and if you leave kind of some room in between strokes, it looks like the petals are connecting into the flower almost. So you can see how I didn't just go straight in a straight line off of the petals that I'm going in between. I kind of just do some strokes and leave some white space where the petal is connecting to the rest of the flower. You can also leave some gaps in the petals, and that will also help it look like light is reflecting, and different curves and things like that make it different variations of the color, so it just makes it look more realistic, even though this is not a realistic looking flower. This is just a loose watercolor flower, and making these was so relaxing. I just turned on some music, and I just wasn't really thinking about what I was doing, and I actually heard recently someone was talking about that on another video I was watching, and they were just saying how when we're kids, we really don't focus on what we're drawing, and like we're thinking about the subjects, but we're not thinking about the process. We're not stressing ourselves out or trying to make it look perfect, and that's really when you get the best results, is when you're not trying. You're just kind of letting loose and doing what feels right to you, and that's really when you make the best art. And I really experienced that making this piece. It's not really anything super fancy, but I just turned on the music and painted some flowers, and it was so much more enjoyable when I wasn't thinking so hard about it. So I'd encourage you guys to try that. You could do it right now. You don't have to listen to me talk, or after you watch this video, just go turn on some music and try it out for yourself. It's really relaxing and therapeutic. It was really nice. I usually put so much pressure on myself and I try to get everything perfect. And sometimes it looks good, but it's not as enjoyable when you're doing that and trying to get everything perfectly how you want it. Sometimes just loosening up a little bit can give you even better results than you could have imagined. Alright, so there's the dahlia. I'm going to add a little bit of this yellow color into the center. You can either wait until it's dry, or if it's a little bit wet still, the yellow will kind of seep into those first petals and it can do a really good blending effect. So it's kind of up to you how you want to finish that off. And the next one we're going to be making is a straw flower. Straw flower is one of my favorites, as you already know if you've watched any of my other videos. I love dried straw flowers and making projects with them, but this time we're going to paint one. So I'm just kind of making a little blotchy yellow oval. This is going to be our center, and then I'm going to change this reddish color into more of a maroon color. So I'm going to add some purple just to get it more of a deeper maroon. Once again though, you can use whatever colors you want to. And once again, we're going to be making triangles, but they're a lot smaller, they're a lot wider and shorter, and they're a lot more compounded than the dahlia. And I'm going to be leaving a lot of white space. So you can really see here what I was trying to explain about where you connect the petals to the center of the flower. And I'm really leaving a lot of white gaps. So I'm doing mostly 2 strokes and then kind of filling it in, but I'm leaving a lot of white space, and that just really helps give it that curved look, how petals are kind of like a ribbed almost dimension to it, and it really just shows off that light where the light would be hitting on a flower. And for those back two, I did them a lot more flat and more wide because the flower is kind of at an angle facing towards us a little bit. So I was just kind of trying to get it kind of the right perception. Next, we're going to make another layer of the same shape of petals, but this time we're going in between those other ones. So the part that's connecting isn't going to be exactly straight like the first ones were. You kind of have to work around the previous petals that we just did. But it's just the same thing. We're just doing another layer of those little triangles. And just like with the dahlia, I am constantly changing the consistency of my paint. I'm either adding purple or more red or even more water and just changing the variation up so that all the petals aren't the same color. Alright, you can really see how that took shape. We're going to do another little not fully opened straw flower right next to it, and these are super easy to do. I'm just doing several connecting curved strokes that almost make a round sphere shape, but not quite. They're not quite connected at the top, and that's just to resemble a bunch of folded up petals that haven't quite opened yet. And then you can do those same little triangle petals around the base. And that is exactly how a straw flower that hasn't opened all the way looks. And then you can add your little stems, some leaves. Alright, the next one is super fun, and it's a zinnia. I have never painted a zinnia, I don't think. So we're going to be doing the same thing as we did with the straw flower, but it's a smaller oval. It's just with that same yellow, a really small blotchy yellow. This is going to be for kind of the tip of the stamen because it kind of is like a cylinder, the stamen on zinnias, and it sticks out pretty far. Now we'll do the pistil, or the center of the flower. And this is the part that's a cylinder, so we're just I'm using this kind of deep reddish pink color, just making a little kind of cylinder shape. And then all I did was add some more water to lighten up that same color. And we're going to make some really rounded petals. So when they come out of the center, when they come out from the center, they're really narrow. And then as they go out, they are really rounded at the ends. They also aren't overlapping at all, at least for this variety of zinnia that I'm painting right now. Some of them do. But this one just has a single layer of petals going all the way around. And from the base, it starts really narrow. So I'm just doing a couple strokes, connecting them at the end. You get this really nice looking petal. We'll add one more. So now you can kind of blend it out a little bit if you want to. While the petals are still wet, just pull some of that darker color into them, and it really blends super nicely. I love how that looks. And then I'm just going to fill in that little yellow oval a little bit because the yellow is just going around the edge of the top, and it kind of fills it in right there. I'm going to add the stem. A couple leaves. Right. And there's the zinnia. That one was so fun. It was probably my favorite to paint. Just adding a few other little... Nope, changed my mind. For this next one, we're going to do a mum. There are tons of different colors of mums, but I'm going to do a purple one. And I'm just starting out with a lighter purple. And I'm going for kind of like a spider mum, so they have these really long and curvy petals. Very basic, pretty thin strokes that are just kind of curvy. It almost looks like a firework at this point. They're all just coming out from the center. Mums are very fluffy. They have lots and lots of petals. So we want to get that part right. And then I'm going to add some yellow in the center. Then we'll go back in with a darker purple. And just add a few more petals. You can either wait until the first petals dry, or you can go back in and do them. I'm just going back in and doing them, and they kind of blend a little bit. Then I'll add a little bud next to it. just a bunch of little thin strokes that are resembling petals all folded up because it hasn't opened yet. And then we can go ahead and add this one's stem. And I'm just going to add the calyx or the leaves that go around the bud. And a few more leaves. Okay, now we're going to move on. This next one is a marigold, and we're actually going to be doing the top view of the marigold, so it's going to be like we're looking down at it from up above, not the side view. So to start with, marigolds have really fluffy petals. I would encourage you to look up a reference photo if you need to, for any of these really, but for the marigold, I'm just starting out with 4 really rigid on the outside petals. They're just not rounded, they're fluffy, curvy lines. And then I'm just going to keep continuing that out from those center petals. And they'll also get wider as we go. But the one thing you want to make sure of is that you do not touch the first petals because it will just blend together. And that white space is really what gives it the dimension and makes it not look like a big blob of paint. So just go carefully when you're right next to it because it's still wet. And then you're just going to make some more fluffy petals. And now when you get to the outside, you can make it look even more fluffier and just kind of looser. And then I'm just going to take a little bit of orange and I'm actually going to go in back into those outside petals and kind of just do it around the edge to give it more of a shaded look or a color burst right there. And then I'll add some orange to the center. And that one's all done. This last one is going to be a Rudbeckia or a Black-Eyed Susan. First I'm going to make the center color. It's just going to be a really dark blackish brown. Or more like a grayish brown, I guess you could call it. And we're just going to be making this kind of like an oval, but with a flat bottom to it, not completely round. And I'm going to be doing 2 of them, so make 2 of those. And I'm leaving a little bit of white space, as you can see at the bottom, for where we're going to connect the petals. The petals will just be a goldish color, a yellowish goldish color. And you're going to start at the base and curve it outward. You have more of a rounded petal also. Just doing those basic curve strokes, put a few together, you get a nice petal. And for that last petal, I'm just going to go right over the top of the other one. They're pretty much the same color. They'll blend a little bit, but it'll be good. They look nice. Then I'm going to go back in with a little bit of a darker grayish brown, and I'm just going to do it on one side to kind of give it more of like a shadowed look, or even a highlight on one side and a shadow on the other side. Gives it some more dimension. I know I use that word a lot, but it's really important to add in those different light movement pieces to this. And then I'm just going to go back in with the yellow again, but a little bit darker, and do a few line strokes to give it those veins. And last but not least, we'll add those stems in. A couple of leaves to go with it. Alright, and there you have it. Super cute floral paintings that you can make and customize to fit your own colors. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and like I said, please mention in the comments what videos you like the best for my channel or what you'd like to see next. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. I will see you guys soon in the next one. Bye guys.